everybody. Today we are talking with Karen Golden, who's starring in Echo Players' production of The Lady with All the Answers. She's going to tell us a bit about this virtual production that will be available in May. So, welcome, Karen.
Thank you.
I'm just wondering, how has this experience been for you as an actor during COVID?
Yeah, well, it's a little weird, all right. I mean, it's a play that Stephen and I had wanted to do anyway at some point. We have plays all the time that we're thinking about eventually wanting to produce, and we had this one, but when we started talking, I don't even know when it was, it's all mushing together in my head, but sometime last spring, summer, about the possibility of doing small cast productions for the theater, with a view to having small audiences. Remember when we were allowed to have 50 or so people? And yeah, so we had thought a cast of one is ideal, and so Echo agreed that would be a good production to mount. So we had been planning for that, and then of course the restrictions got tighter and it was no gatherings at all. So we had to pivot and got the idea of doing it as a video production. But it was all sort of yes, no, bit roller coaster kind of, because we didn't really know if it was ever going to happen and if anybody was ever going to see it. So as you're preparing, especially when it's a one-woman show and you're trying to learn lines and you're trying to picture yourself as this character and you don't actually know if it's going to happen, one of the hardest things was staying committed to doing the day-to-day work of it all by yourself, kind of, right? So that was tricky. I'll let Stephen talk about some of the more production-oriented aspects of doing a production like this, but for an actor, that was weird. The other thing that was weird was that even in a small cast show, you usually have designers and crew and other volunteers sort of gathering around you to support you and talk about the show and even sit in the house towards the end of the rehearsal period to give you an idea of where the laughs are and what the response is going to be like. And there's nobody. Like Stephen and I go into a dark theater all by ourselves and we do this thing, and timing is tricky. And this character talks directly to the audience a lot, and you can imagine as you're thinking about doing it, that in a live production she would be interacting in a very real way with people. She would be looking for people to raise their hands or shout out a response or whatever, and that's just not there. So yeah, that's different.
Challenging.
Yeah,
absolutely. Have you approached this differently with an eye to the filming?
Yeah, we have, although to be honest, I don't know if we've cracked that nut. Like, I won't know till we film it. Mm-hmm. I think about it when I think about my face. Normally the audience is further away, and so I think about where will the camera be, what will the camera see, how much of it is going to be steady, straight on, how much of it is going to be, how much movement is distracting, how much movement is, an audience, a live audience is taking in a whole room, a whole set, and you don't know where their eyes are at any moment, right? When it's film, the camera is directing where the eyes go. And it's been a long time since I did film, and this play was written as a live play. So we'll see, I guess. Yeah.
Well, thank you. And do you have some favorite lines from the play that you would like to share with us?
Well, I do want to say a little bit about Ann Landers and about this play because she was a real person. I mean, she's passed away now, but a lot of people who see this will remember her newspaper column, if they're old enough. And she was pretty famous and pretty influential at the time she was writing her column. She was in wide circulation and people really read her every day. So when you're an actor portraying a real person, there's that aspect of it that's different. And it's set in 1975. So there will be people who can remember 1975, and there will be people who have no idea what it was really like to be in 1975. So some of the language and the expressions seem dated, or we just don't use those expressions anymore. It's funny, it's not really that long ago, but the language has really changed quite a bit. Some of the topics that are controversial at the time are still controversial, interestingly, and others are not. So it's really interesting to look at that and to get a historical perspective on the time, like the Vietnam War, the whole Roe versus Wade, some of the stuff that was topical in the news at the time. In some ways we've come so far, and in some ways we're just exactly there still. So that's interesting. But she's an incredibly interesting, dynamic, down-to-earth, funny person. She says some things that you can tell came right out of her head. And they come out all the time in the play. One of my favorites is blood may be thicker than water, but it boils faster too. So, there's a lot of stuff in there like that are just quirky, funny little Anne-isms, I guess.
Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about this play, why people should tune in to this virtual experience?
Well, yeah, I think it's going to be kind of like being in her living room with you and her, and just seeing this is a sort of it's placed in a particular night in her life that really happened, without giving too much away. And so, there's a real personal story there, and I think you'll feel like you're, in her living room and sort of listening to her talk just the way I hope, the way she was.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.